Welcome to ND and Me, a podcast to share NDers' lived experiences. I'm Richard, an ND coach, mentor, accountability buddy, and business consultant. Good afternoon, Faigy. How are you?
I'm fine, thank God. How are you?
We are doing well. So, tell us who you are.
Oh no, that is a difficult question. Who am I? Okay, well, I am a mother, wife, and I've got ADHD.
And when did you find out that you had ADHD?
Oh, that's a long story.
We've got time.
When I was doing ADHD coach training back in 2015, I remember exactly where I was standing when the trainer was talking about what ADHD really is. Oh, I've got ADHD. Oh, so I can't blame my husband that my son had ADHD. Oh no.
So you were doing the ADHD coaching training because your son had ADHD, or
Not really. I'm no, because I first trained as a home organizer back in 2013. And I worked for about 2 years in my local Jewish area here. And I remember when I started, I asked a few people that I knew, and I asked a few counselors if they thought it would go if I would start to work, in this field. And they said, Faigy, don't even bother. No one is going to call you in because here where I live, we all know each other and they'll be too ashamed to call you in. I said, oh, they're all telling me not to. I'm going to show them all right. And yeah, within about 2 years, I had about 8 sessions a week, which is a lot. And I was working far too hard. And then I, over the months and years, I started to see certain similar patterns and signs with the clients. They all had intense shame. They all had intense guilt. They were all mums, and they were all not coping and overwhelmed, and similar executive function deficit challenges, which at the time I didn't even know what that word meant. Ashamed to say. And I thought, you know what, I want to help these clients more. I want to help them more, but I didn't know what. I was always coming up to the stop. Like I could help them up to this point, and then I couldn't help them anymore. And so I looked around and I found an ADHD coaching training program, ADCA. That is the gold standard. And I remember I was terrified, beyond terrified to do this because it's not me to do these things. And I just did it. And I remember it was just great. It was brilliant. They were really helpful and it was fantastic. And then they all say that somewhere along the lines of when you start to train to when you actually finish and you get yourself certified, you turn into an ADHD coach. You have that mentality that sort of changed into that way of thinking. I said, oh, not me. No. Well, they were wrong. And to cut a very long story short, I only really market myself as an ADHD coach. And my first website, Organized Pro, which was all about how to get your home and time organized, that's gone. It's finished now because I sort of joined that in with my current business. So that's me in a super duper nutshell. That's where. 1 minute. What was your question?
So it was, who are you? And you were like, really quickly, I'm a mum and an ADHD coach, and now I can't blame my husband for my son having ADHD.
That's it.
And then I
Exactly.
asked when you got diagnosed, and then you said, well, I was doing ADHD coach training because you were doing this home organizing stuff. Then you went into coaching, and that's where the conversation then got to. So you've been coaching for 5 or 7 years now as an ADHD coach.
2015 I finished. So how many years is that? Whatever it is.
7.
It's nearing the end of the day. I've had a really busy day and my brain
Yeah.
is slowing down. Oh yeah. But I only actually got myself diagnosed 3 years ago.
Okay. So yeah, and what led you to that? Was it a case of, well, you were doing the coaching and you were like, that sounds like me, and then you felt the need to go and get a diagnosis, or
Oh, um, it's sadly, we do get influenced by what we see in the media and what we read about ADHD and about medication and all that stigma. So I thought, well, I think it's enough that I know that I have an ADHD personality. So I just left it at that. And then I was talking to a friend and she said, Faigy, like, you are so obviously ADHD. Why don't you get yourself diagnosed? I said, oh, why didn't I think of that? Sometimes things are so obvious we don't think of. They're just too obvious. So I went and got assessed, and of course, what I went to do, I did it because I wanted to understand and really feel what my clients go through. Because till then they would talk to me about the whole process and about the meds, but I didn't really get it, even though now I've got more kids on meds. But at the time it was only one child on meds. It's different when you do it yourself. So of course I knew how to fill in the forms really well. And I made sure that I got myself diagnosed very quickly. So the doctor said to me, Faigy, you have an extreme case of ADHD. I thought, oh, amazing. And the next question was, well, how about you try the meds? And I thought, oh, I didn't think that far. I don't know. So I thought, well, if she's offering it to me, why not? Because I want to just feel what the clients feel like. So I actually tried 3 different types of meds, 3 totally different types until I hit bullseye. But even the first type helped. And it's just amazing. I would never go back. So now I know I have ADHD. I've got an amazing excuse when I just forget things, etc.
Reason.
I'm sorry.
Reason.
Exactly.
We don't.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I'm joking. Although, yeah, it's helped me put things in context. So I'm not crazy. I'm not lazy. I don't have anything wrong with me. It's just some brain wiring and it's fine. I'm fine. So it has made me even more careful to make sure that I have my life scaffolded, make sure that I keep to those systems, because now I know that if I don't, I can't really fool myself anymore, that I will manage without them. And I got an online assessment. It was a free tool. And I got for something called dyscalculia, which is the numbers form of dyslexia. Because again, I always thought, oh, I'm bad with numbers. I'm not good with numbers. And then I made a few really stupid mistakes with numbers, and I was really, really upset about that. So I thought maybe there's more to it. And I could see I got really sorry. I got a really chuck phone away. I got a really low mark with, or high mark, however you call it, with that one. So that also helped me massively, because now I know that I need to support myself more in that area, in the area of numbers. And I need numbers to be super clear. And actually, I'm actually better at, I can't say numbers as such, but in understanding numbers and finances better than other people, because it has to be tactile. It has to be like that. You can feel it and touch it.
So I think I'm quite good at maths. Yeah, I did statistics. I chose to do statistics as an extra course.
Ouch.
I did, and I sat A-level maths. So yeah, I thought I was good at maths. But my dyslexia feels like dyslexia with maths. So when I write down a number, I'll write them in the wrong order. I won't write the wrong number, but that's kind of the extent of my trouble with maths. Yeah, I know how to do algebra. You know, I'm quite astute with all of that stuff. But you give me your phone number, and I'll count that there's 11 digits, and then ask you to repeat it again, so I've actually written it out right. But yeah, it's. I was on a call with my coach about 6 months ago, and I was like, yeah, I've got dyslexia with numbers. But no, that's dyscalculia. So well, but for me, it isn't as severe as I know it has been with loads of other people. Yeah, for me, it is like a dyslexia, like not being able to see it properly, rather than having all of that maths and function and process stuff.
Yeah.
So you've got a couple of kids with ADHD. Is that what
Yes,
you
I've got
alluded
5
to?
children.
How many?
5.
You beat me because I've only got 4.
5. Right.
Now,
you've got
there's something about impulse and relationships for ADHDers, which may add to the fact that we have big families.
Perhaps. Yes, I've got a friend who has ADHD, and yes, she's had a few kids too many because she forgot to take the pill. Common. Yes, well, I've got 5 children ranging in age from 22 down to 10, married for 23 years. And my husband has ADHD as well.
Okay.
He got himself diagnosed last because he kept saying he hasn't got it. I mean, I just laughed. And then eventually,
was he feeling left out, or were you like, no, you've definitely got it, you're definitely having it?
Feeling left out. I could see he was feeling left out when we all got ganged up and we all talked about it. He was like, "Oh, I'm fine. Okay, then you be fine then."
So I like the acronym for FINE as effed up, indecisive, neurotic, and emotional. Yes, you are fine.
Good one, actually. Yes.
So that was relatively recently for him getting his diagnosis.
Yeah. And he can't thank me enough. The meds have changed his life.
And was that a long process for you guys? Because
we went down the private route.
Okay.
I had been to CAMS for years and years and years, and they just gave me such grief. But such grief, I can't even tell you. So I really, really feel with parents who go through CAMS. I don't know if it seems, and this is, I haven't done any research on this, but it seems across England, northwest, southeast, wherever, I've yet to hear of a parent who has had a good experience with CAMS. Quick, easy follow-up, education, all that. I don't know, maybe there is someone out there, but my one is not. It's just giving me such grief.
So you're also got private prescriptions, or you got the diagnosis privately and then went back to the healthcare system for...
Yeah, we got the assessment, everything was done privately, and then we did the shared care.
Okay. And how was that handoff process? Because I got my referral from my GP following my private diagnosis a year ago, and I still haven't heard anything.
I don't know. Well, it was done privately, so it didn't take too long till we got assessed. And yeah, my kids were really, really good because at that time, only one child had been diagnosed. He was, oh no, he's now 19. Okay, I can't work out backwards 3 years. What's that? 16, maybe?
Yeah.
He was, that's my dyscalculia. He was 19, so he had been diagnosed. However, I wanted him to get diagnosed again, just with just because I didn't think, I just wanted to do it again, make sure that everything was in order. Then my son, who is now 16, he was assessed and he got ADHD diagnosis, and I was shocked because I couldn't believe how did I miss that one. And then my son, who is now 10, he was 7, he got assessed, diagnosed on meds, and I'm really glad because I nipped that one in the bud. I didn't wait till it got bad because I've learned a thing or two. And I actually spoke to his teacher the week after he started meds, and I asked the teacher, "How is my son doing?" "Yeah, he's really good." And I mentioned about that he's on meds, and the teacher could not believe it. He said, "Oh my," he couldn't believe it because my son wasn't that jumpy, fidgety beforehand, but he saw the change. He was really happy that I did that move. And then my 2 daughters, who are now 22 and 20, they both, I must say, they are amazing. They both agreed to go with me and get themselves assessed. The reason being that they were doing well. They are doing well. However, as an ADHD coach, I know the signs of ADHD in the female population. It can be different to male population. And it's not only different, the symptoms happen in different strengths and extremes, if that makes sense. And I just wanted them to go and get themselves assessed. And they had that paper, okay, that if ever, when they get older, when they will need meds, not if, when. As life gets much more stressful and as they come towards the perimenopause stage, they'll probably need meds. Then they know they've been through that experience many years ago that their mad mum took them to get assessed, and they'll be able to access what they need. So they were really good, and they went with me, and they both got a diagnosis of not clear-cut ADHD, but they can see what I'm talking about when I say ADHD, but they're doing well. And they were both offered meds, and they both tried it. One daughter wasn't interested, but she did say it made her feel better. And the other daughter also wasn't interested, and she didn't even feel it that it made her feel better. So they both stopped. Then the younger daughter, about a year after she got assessed, she went through quite a hard patch, and I just mentioned to her, I've got some spare meds, darling, and she took some, and she felt much better. But that was just over that rough period for a few weeks, and then she was fine. But she has that memory reference of it helped. Yeah, because they were older already. They've got their own minds. And now they are both married now, and they both have babies. In the Jewish community, the children stay home till they get married, and then they leave the house. So yeah, they both got married within 6 months of each other, believe it or not. It's like, wow, even from my standpoint, that's like quick. It just happened, God helped. So they've both found their soulmates, and they both have babies. 2 little grandsons I've got now.
And the good thing about that is that you can give them back when they come.
Oh, it's amazing. Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it's brilliant.
So you refer to yourself as a mad mum?
Yeah, sometimes I think I'm not so much anymore, but I used to think I'm mad. I'm crackers. What am I doing here? Like, I'm doing all, like, being an ADHD coach, and it's like doing all the things I'm doing, Oh, imposter syndrome is a big one. Yeah, because what I do is I get an idea, I do it, I put it out there, and then I think, help, did I do that? Oh no, I'm crackers. And then I go and hide in a corner for a few years. Yeah, so I have it the other way around. Many people have it, they can't even get an idea out because they're so terrified. I do it, and I think, oh no, but that coach did it better, or that one did it differently, and I'm crazy.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
How?
Comparison is the thief of joy.
What's that?
So if you compare yourself with somebody else,
yeah,
it's going to withdraw your joy.
Oh, right.
So you can be happier if you don't compare yourselves.
Of course, but that's how the ADHD brain is. It's a bit of a default thing. Yeah. Like, am I thinking? But as I go through life, I see more and more, I'm not that mad. I'm actually quite normal, sensible, call it, don't know. I'm actually not that mad after all.
Yeah. On the grey scale of black and white, I'm not that crazy.
Not quite, no. I'm actually quite brave.
Well, I was talking to Joe on his episode about, there's a fine line between crazy and genius.
Yeah.
There's also a fine line between brave and stupid.
Yeah. So too often I thought I was being stupid. But I'm not actually.
So what led you into home organizing? Was it a case that you kind of regimented yourself into tidiness and thought that'd be helpful to others? Or? Well,
as a young mum, I was just very organized. I didn't think of ADHD at all. The only sign that you would have thought that I have ADHD is I'm really bad at maths. Okay, that idea. Working memory deficit. And I was quite intense, very like emotional type, intense. But I was super focused. I was really organized. In school, I did really well. But now I look back, I think, how did I do so well? And I ran my home really organized, structured manner. And I was working in a school. I was teaching art in a high school. And my youngest was born. He's 10 now. And I couldn't bear to go back to teach anymore. I thought, God, I just can't bear it. Just I need to do something else. I don't know what. And then I was just looking at one of the Jewish magazines, and I was just turning the pages, and I saw this advert, a 4-page advert, trained to become a home organizer. And I looked at the advert, and you know how you have these moments. Thought, hey, that's for me. And I called up, and I basically signed up within 5 minutes. And then I started to get the doubts. You know how it is. I jump in and then I think, but it was a good course, and that started me off. I'm thinking now it was quite a basic course, but it was better than nothing. I would never have started without training, and I now offer training, and it's all based on ADHD throughout. How to understand ADHD in your clients, organizing clients, how to help them. Every tool focused on how to support the brain of your ADHD clients, how to help them and support them. So yeah, that's how I got into it, really, because I thought I was very organized, and I was. As I get older, it's harder, you know. Just you can see it's harder. Life is more stressful. There's more put on you, but I think the brain wears out. It's
Well,
hard.
I definitely think the last couple of years has definitely knocked about 10% of my IQ off. I'm not as sharp as I was 3 years ago.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
So, the work that you're doing now is supporting coaches to support ADHDers, as well as having your own ADHD clients, or
yeah, you've got that very well. How did you work that one out?
Well, because you said I'm an ADHD coach, and then you said I also run training to help people manage their clients.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like I can never have a simple business. I always have 2 tracks.
Yeah.
I realize that's my brain. I can't do one thing, it's too boring. Yeah. I picture myself as running a race, and there's 6 lanes. You know, there's 6 runners, and there's 6 of me. And I move forward on this lane, and then I stop, and I move on that lane, stop. That's how my brain works. I've realized it doesn't work in a linear fashion, which a lot of ADHDers need to, which we all need to know that. We basically, I can't say everyone, but that's how many people who have ADHD, that's how our brains work.
No, so I always thought for years that I was a chronic procrastinator and lazy. But I come from a working class background, and if you don't do something, you are effectively worthless. So that's why I have like 6 projects on the go. So when I get bored of something, I can do something and still be productive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm harnessing the benefit of being able to get bored of stuff rather than just sitting in front of the telly box and watching YouTube shorts on scrolling. Now I can actually do something until I've got the passion's probably not the right word, impetus to go back and do the thing that I need to do. And deadlines really help me. So at the moment, I'm doing 3 further education courses. One of them is completely self-guided. I've done nothing on it in 2 months. One of them, I've got one-to-one coaching, so they're basically coaching me through the program. And it's like, right, you've got 11 bits of homework to do. I'll see you in a month. Yeah, the session.
Whole month.
The session's on Monday, and I've done 3 bits of homework. Okay, well then this weekend I'm going to do 6 bits of homework, and then the third is probably the most useful to me. Is there's 6 sessions. Here they are in your diary. You have to attend these 6 sessions. Okay, well then I know I need to be there, and then each session is like 60 or 90 minutes with a break. So it's just long enough to make you stay engaged, but it's set. You know, there's other people on the course. You can network, you can chat to people, but you have to be online to get the content on date. Which I quite like that structure, because that is in itself a deadline. You know, I won't pass the course unless I attend this thing. But yeah, I'm doing a HR course online. And it's like, well, you've got 18 months to complete it. You've registered with the people you need to register with. Over to you. And I'm like, cool.
Not.
Oh, I should really? Nah, I can't be asked. So yeah, it's a challenge.
Yes.
So, where are we going with this conversation now, Faigy? We've talked about what you're currently doing. We've talked about all of the difficulties of having many people in the house with ADHD. So that's everyone at home having ADHD.
Yeah. And
Cool.
imagine every month what I go through to get the meds to come to my house. Between the GP and the pharmacy, ping pong, back forth. Where's it up to? Which kid? What? It's enough to do you in.
It's like, can I have a repeat prescription on this date for everybody, and then I could just get it?
Nope, doesn't work because the doctor didn't sign this. He forgot that. So then one kid is out of sync. It's enough to, I'm telling you, but I still do it. And lately what I've done is I don't make any phone calls. I just let it come. And I've got a few spares. You know, it's too bad.
And have you all synced up to the same medication, or are you still on?
Oh, well, every child is on something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, different strengths and all that. Yeah.
That's a juggle. So now you're diagnosed. Looking back at your, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years of formative growth, have you had any grief or remorse or sadness of looking back and going, if only I didn't have this, that wouldn't have happened, or thank God I had this because this thing happened? Yeah, is there any life events that you've linked back to the diagnosis?
Oh, yeah, sure. Most of my life events would have panned out with less pain, should we say, if I had known. However, that's what God wanted, and that's how it is. And I've done the best with the tools I have. And I always believe that you can make up for lost time, in inverted commas. You can really rocket yourself forwards in a very short amount of time and get far further than where you think you could get. So I always tell my clients, never lose hope and never think that you wasted X amount of years, because you haven't. Because all the painful lessons that you've learned, they'll all sort of help you to move on quickly. And I've seen that with my own life and with clients. And I feel like I'm sort of maybe living my life backwards, because as I get older and every year that I get older and I achieve more, I think, oh, I'm slowly organizing this bit of my life, and now that bit, I'm sort of ironing out that problem, and that, so by the time I'll be old, please God, old and healthy, I'll be all sorted. I feel like I'm doing things backwards, but maybe that's how we're all doing things. I don't know.
Well, I definitely think that adversity makes stronger people. So my favorite saying is, a calm sea never made a good sailor. You need a storm to learn how to sail.
Yes.
And sadly, for some neurodiverse folk, we get into more storms than others.
Yes. It's just the lack of tools that that's the problem.
Well, I think there's something to do with luck in that mix.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
everybody's got baggage. It's just about how heavy the bags are.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. Yeah, I think if you have ADHD, maybe, I don't know, maybe we may have, and this is just my own theory, may have more baggage than neurotypical people, because it's not only my ADHD, it's my dad's ADHD and his dad's ADHD and everything else that goes with it. Because if I see a client when they have ADHD, I don't just see them, I see the whole picture. I see, because very often ADHD comes with, package deal of strengths and also of different areas of challenge. In a family where there is ADHD, there'll probably be much more ASD, anxiety, depression, OCD, bipolar even. And in my book, Own Your ADHD, I talk about that. Now, of course, I forgot to bring it, or maybe I didn't. Is that the book?
Plugging the book.
Hold on, 1 minute. Come on. I bet it's not here. I bet it's something else. Oh, not bad. Here we are. I'm not a very good salesperson, as you can see. There's my book, Only ADHD. And when I wrote this book, I was terrified beyond terrified to even publish it, because I knew at the time that there's things in there that, even though I've had 3 separate proofreaders read it, there's gonna be mistakes. And I'm publishing a book that's going to have things in it that I need to change afterwards. It was beyond horribly terrifying. And I did it. And yes, I did change quite a few bits and pieces. But I got really good feedback. I thought, really? Are they saying it's good? Really? Because I wrote about my own experience with ADHD, and about what ADHD really is from my slant, which is really, I focused on executive function deficit. So, why did I say that? Why am I looking at the book?
We're talking, well, we were talking about the book, and then you got into executive function. So what is it about executive function deficit that is a special interest for you?
All of them, all of the executive function deficits. I teach a model where they're very much broken down, and they are 11 executive functions, broken down into really bite size that we really understand it. My family go mad with me when one of them forgets, my husband as well, when he forgets something, and I say, oh, that is working memory deficit, isn't it, darling? And they don't want to know, but it helps me understand and not get angry. Now, why did you leave that behind? And all they need to do is put some tools into action that will help support the working memory deficit. So if you could think, maybe that is my main one that I really like to focus on, working memory. 1 minute, we're talking about if you have ADHD, then, oh yes. So in this book, I've got lots of facts, statistics, okay, and you can look them up in the book, but I don't really like talking about numbers and percentages and all that. So
going through all of the processes and knowing that neurodivergent people commonly have co-occurring conditions, have you sought out other diagnoses? Do you think that there is, autistic traits within the family, or?
Oh yes, there is definitely autistic traits within the family. A few of my children have got ASD diagnosis. Yeah, I had anxiety for all my life, and I thought it was just trauma as a kid, and I thought, like, how long am I going to have this anxiety? Like, I had to leave the house. I was anxious, but I pushed through. I had a meeting with someone. Why am I anxious? What am I anxious about? And I thought, well, that's life. That's just how it's meant to be. That's how everyone feels. And then when I took meds, I realized, oh, that's not how I meant to feel. Because as I went higher in dosage till I got to the right dose, this was the third lot.
Yeah.
The anxiety that was just underlying, disappeared. And I don't want to make anyone have false hopes, but it was like magic. It was unbelievable. What? I've done yoga, I've done mindfulness, I've done all sorts of things to help me. Nothing compares to how I'm feeling now when the meds are working. Because ADHD management is pills and skills. In the book, right? So I did it backwards. I did the skills, and the pills just, filled in the gaps that the skills cannot fill in. And having said that, every day is still a struggle. Every day I'm still working on myself. Every day I still say, oops, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I was a bit impulsive. But, such is life. And at least I know that it's not me. I'm not faulty, as you said, lazy, right? It's my ADHD brain wiring. And yeah, I'm doing my best.
So what I like about impulsivity is that there is an innate truth about it. So when you say that thing that you regret saying, and you have a level of remorse for saying, you don't regret saying it because it's untrue. You forget saying it because it was untactful.
Yes, that's very well analysed.
And the truth hurts is a saying for a reason. And
Yeah.
sometimes you can't you can't polish a turd, you can't make a shit sandwich, you can't put icing on the dump cake. Sometimes you have to say the hard things. And people, neurotypicals, when they're angry, will say stuff, and there'll always be an element of truth in it. Sometimes you're being spiteful, but you've conjured that perception from somewhere. You've got a lived experience of that person giving you that adjective that you've then thrown at them. I've made so many faux pas of being impulsive and verbally not very helpful to myself and people around me. But for me, it goes back to that whole conversation of reasons and excuses. I'm not excusing my behavior. I'm telling you why it happened. Yeah. Now, you can then decide whether or not you want to forgive me, whether or not you want to hold that against me for the rest of my life. But I'm sorry that you feel bad because I told you something that was true. I could have said it better, maybe. But
yeah.
I've spent the last, definitely the last 5 years, if not the last 8 years, doing lots and lots of work in behavioral psychology, essentially. And I know how and why my body does stuff. I had a fantastic conversation yesterday with Caroline Goyder. She's a vocal coach. Wrote a book called Gravitas, and it's about speaking with gravitas and managing your emotions. So basically, polyvagal theory to calm yourself to then be able to talk without being nervous or stressed or anxious or
interesting.
So she spoke. So I watched her TED talk like years ago. She spoke at an event I was at yesterday, and afterwards I was like, I'd really like a deeper conversation with you about neurodivergent folk and your skills, because a lot of the sale of that is, I can teach you this new way of being, and within 40 seconds you could be a different human being. And I'm like, I get that. Going back to what was his name? There was an Auschwitz survivor that wrote a book and said,
yes, Viktor Frankl.
Yes. So that between the action, the stimulus and the reaction, there is a pause. And if you use that pause, then you can be amazing. And I'm like, okay, I get that. And I know the psychology behind that. But if you are dealing with things with your reptilian brain at a subconscious level, your conscious brain can't stop you.
Yes, exactly.
So when you have impulsive tendencies because you've got ADHD, saying, well, you just need to pause after a stimulus. Well, the problem is that I've reacted before my brain's realized that there's been a stimulus. I think there's going to be a really interesting conversation. I don't know if we're going to record it or if we're going to put a session together. We're going to flesh out a conversation because, for 20 years, she's been talking about all of this stuff and she's really passionate about it. I'm trying to get behind it, but for the last 5 years, I've looked at parasympathetic nervous system, polyvagal theory, behavioral psychology, the list. And the limbic system is there to save my life. And sometimes the limbic system means that this opens before this engages.
Yes, and it's interesting.
Sorry.
It's very interesting. I've worked on myself a lot to heal traumas from when I was a child. Stuff I didn't even know I had to heal. Been doing that since I was 30, but quite intensely the last 6 months. I signed up for an online membership where we do certain exercises and we learn to heal our trauma. Have you heard of EFT?
What is the
tapping emotional freedom technique?
I've read about it recently, like the last week or so. There's been a couple of bits, but
yeah, it's very, very good.
I would encourage you to look at Donna Lancaster, and she has a independent film on Amazon called Loved. So it's Love parentheses D. And her and Gabby Kruger put together a residential retreat looking at somatic experiencing with Peter Levine's work, some mindfulness practice, and some other spiritual ritual stuff in dealing with trauma. Because the last 5 years for me was, well, Richard's really impulsive. Most of his impulsion comes from defensiveness. Why is he defensive? Well, maybe that's childhood trauma. Well, let's deal with childhood trauma. So it was a retreat called the Bridge Retreat. They no longer run it, but Donna and Gabby now run like weekend stuff in Surrey. Fabulous ladies. But coming out of that, I was a different person, but I'm still carrying the ADHD bags. So it's like everybody has baggage, but is it because you had a helicopter parent who never left you alone, or a feckless parent who let you get on with it? Okay, or something far more malicious in that, or do you have differences of cognition and ability and the way that you interact with the world that overlays places in? So I think that there's potentially a really useful conversation about trying to get some of that mindfulness practice, breath work, into this conversation about controlling the vagus nerve and the limbic system to enable ADHDers to be less impulsive. Right. Because I'm not clever enough to do that on my own.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think trauma is part and parcel of most people's baggage, what they need to deal with. And if you have ADHD, I think the trauma may be more
impactful, or
more impactful, because I was just on a course last night. I'm an ACO member, and I forget what ACO stands for, Association, I think, for Coaches or something. It's for ADHD coaches, and they do ongoing training. And they were talking about how can you tell the difference when your client is showing signs of trauma and when they're showing signs of emotional self-dysregulation.
Well,
it was really interesting.
Are they not the same thing?
Nope.
Because surely
they're not. Slight variation, slight difference. Interesting. I thought they were, but they're not quite. So that was very helpful for me to hear.
So emotional dysregulation as an ADHD trait rather than emotional dysregulation caused by trauma.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if we have ADHD, because we have difficulties with emotional self-regulation, we may experience situations as more intensely traumatic, or even just that they somehow make us feel some sort of trauma. Whereas if we don't have ADHD, we may not. We may be fine, or we may just think it's slightly uncomfortable, or some variation of that. So that was very interesting to hear that as well, because that's quite true. I think because we're so intense, and the event we may experience more intense feelings with the event, and it may actually shock the system. So I think it doesn't really matter where one starts to work on. One just starts somewhere, and just one step will lead to the next. So I'm now working on trauma, on healing trauma, and it's really, really powerful. I can now talk to people, talk to family members, and actually be fine with things that they said in the past that would get me mad. And I thought, well, it gets me mad because I've got ADHD. Could be. But now it's like, okay, it's fine.
So my counselor had a conversation with me about my rationalization. Are you just putting it in a box you don't have to deal with it, or is dealing with it putting it in a box?
Right.
And for me, that this chimes well, because that whole conversation around explanation and reason has changed your perception of the event. So you having a better understanding of how and why people do stuff has led you to the place where you don't feel the same negative emotions you did for that event, because you can rationalize why it happened without necessarily being traumatized or re-traumatized by it.
Yeah. Yeah, correct. Yeah, so I've been doing this monthly membership course with a lady called Carol Tuttle, Tuttle, and she runs the Healing Center.
Okay.
And she's a self-made person, and that's what got me onto her, because she has been through really difficult times, and she's about, I think she's about 60. She's obsessed her age, so I can say it. And she's got children and grandchildren, and she's come way along. She's come a long way, and she's really helpful. What she says just hits home. It just hits home. The EFT exercises, they just really hit home. They're really brilliant. So that's where I am at now, and I don't know where I'll be in 6 months' time. But the main thing is not to sweat and fret over stuff like what do I do now? Just do work on an area that you feel like working on. You think, okay, that's easy. I can do that. And then you do the next thing. Keep it simple. That's what I say. If you have ADHD, my whole life's goal is to simplify, because we naturally overcomplicate. Simplify.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Something like it.
Yes. So
yes.
I just heard your calendar tell you that you've got something at 5 o'clock.
Yes.
So
I'll tell you what I've got. I'm trying this out for the first time. I'm actually going to mentor my daughter for half an hour. She's been asking me. She edits videos online, and she's been begging me to sort of help her how to create a course, because I've got like 15 online courses, Udemy. And when she comes over and her baby's like, around, we have a chat, and it's just not going. So I said to her, right, I need to work with you.
We need some framing around it. Yeah.
Set a time, and we'll only talk about it for that half an hour. And when you come over during the week, not.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works. I said, look, try it for 4 weeks, and then we'll see.
No,
so
that's fantastic.
She's brave.
Well, you might be brave too. So what I tend to ask at the end of these conversations is there anything that you're passionate about in this space that we haven't touched on that you wanted to talk about?
Yes. My paintings that I haven't painted yet.
because you're creative and artistic, and it's ready to go, but you're not.
I'm too busy building my business and doing stuff and helping people and working on this blog and making that course and all that. But
Faigy, in the immortal words of Simon Sinek, there is no such thing as people who are too busy or don't have the time.
Yes,
the problem is that you aren't prioritizing it.
Yes, because I have painted, and I've got a lot of my paintings hanging up. So this is just an extra. But okay, I need to think about that one. So I have that there. That it's on public show, that everyone can see how far I am or not in my paintings. So that might give me impetus.
Well, maybe. But yeah, I think that there's something about having everything you need ready.
It's there behind me.
So when you've got that spark, it's there. Because there's nothing worse than going, oh, I want to do that thing, and then you get distracted, and then you never start it. Or
exactly. I mean, do you know how long it took me till I managed to buy a bottle of linseed oil? It took me about 4 months, because the local shops didn't have it, and then I had to always remember to go when I'm in that area to go and buy. And then, of course, I found my first bottle that I couldn't find. I found it after I bought the. Okay. No. So now I've got 2 bottles of linseed oil.
So how long have you been painting for?
Oh, ever since I was a kid. And I've been doing oil paints for a good about 25 years. So I've got many paintings hanging up. They're all not finished, and I'm very proud of that. No one else can tell. And then
Is that done, not perfect?
exactly. Once I reach a stage of I've had it, that's enough, then I have the picture framed. Sometimes I will actually go back to a painting and finish it off, touch up. Sometimes not.
No, I paint miniatures.
What's that in your background? The lemons, are those miniatures? No.
No, sadly not. But yeah, so I like historical tabletop wargaming and fantasy stuff. Anyway, but I keep getting stuck by the 80-20 rule. So at the last 20% takes 80% of the time.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it's a little bit like when you're writing that essay, where you can put your outline down quite quickly, or writing the book. When it then comes to polishing that last 10%, well, that takes you as long as it took you to write the rest of it, because you want to make sure that the punctuation's right, the spelling's right. You don't go to print with ADH because you forgot to put a D on the end. Or No, I was talking to Leanne Maskell on a ADHD UK call, and she was like, I can't believe that me and the editor both missed the fact that on the front cover for the first draft, it didn't have a D for ADHD. Oh, which is just amazing. Brilliant. Well, we're coming to the end of our hour. Thank you very much for having us on.
Thank you so much for asking me to come on, and for keeping on asking me to come on. Oh, I had such a laugh when you sent me that text. I thought, he doesn't give up. All right, okay, let's reply. Let's get on with it.
Well, I loved your response, because your response, audience, we've been in touch with each other for about 2 months, and then Faigy sent me a lovely text message and said, let me find it, because it was quite funny.
Which one was that?
No, it might have been on the LinkedIn chat, because it was like, you really do get ADHD people. I was like, yes, I do. Everybody needs a gentle nudge occasionally.
Yeah.
Did you get that email? What email? Okay, I'll resend it. But we've all been there. My last job, I got called into a meeting 6 months after a decision. Something went wrong. 6 months later, I get called in. There was this email that came in while you were on holiday, and you didn't action it. And I'm like, okay. But boss, you were copied into it, and you didn't action it either. So at least I can say, hey, ADHD, occasionally I might miss something. But you're neurotypical, so don't be throwing mud in my direction.
Right. Love it.
But Faigy, it's been awesome.
Thank you.
Everybody go buy Faigy's book.
Okay. And yeah, lovely talking to you, and I'm sure we'll be in touch in the future. We'll cross paths somewhere, somehow.
We'll meet again. We don't know where, and we don't know when, but I'm sure we'll meet again.
Yes, I am sure. Well, I wish you good luck in all your very valuable work, spreading ADHD understanding and awareness. And yeah.
Perfect.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All the best.